Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Grenada Matters. Welcome to 2021, doing things a lot differently than we did in 2020. We do have some good news. Obviously, the refugee, the asylum seeker that was in the Grenadian prisons for so long has now been released. So he begins a new life in a new country. So that's a very positive thing that's come via this show and a lot of other positive things as well. Today, I have a new guest on the show with me. I have a gentleman by the name of Dennis Charles. Good evening or good afternoon, Mr. Charles. How are you?
I'm doing fine, sir, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Fantastic. And I also have with me Mr. Hudson George. How are you, Mr. George?
Well, I'm good for the time being, you know.
Good to see you. Happy New Year. Okay, yeah. So for those people who don't know who Dennis Charles is, Dennis, if you could give a quick overview as to who you are to viewers.
Yes, well, as you know, my name is Dennis with one N. Originally, I came from a very small village in the northern part of the country called Tivoli, St. Andrews. As a young kid, I attended the Tivoli RC School. I went later to McDonald College before traveling to the United States. I now live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a businessman. I write, I comment, social commentary. I'm in politics and many other things. I'm a financial advisor, etc., etc. So I just want to make a little contribution for the sake of my country.
We have a heavyweight on the show. Fantastic. Great stuff. So also we have Hudson George. Hudson, if people can have a brief overview as to who you are and just reintroduce yourself to the show.
Well, this is Hudson George, you know, from Hermitage St. Patrick. And always in media for a long time, you know. I write newspaper, I do all kind of thing. I even make music already too.
Oh,
I use Grenadian form of poetry style.
Yes.
With the dialect and mix it with soca and jab music too. I do that. I write newspaper. I do all kind of things. And I'm outspoken.
Can you sing?
Not really. It's not really singing. I do it in a Grenadian style.
Okay,
and it works. It works. I had a few good hits in the past.
Okay, well maybe you could do an intro for Grenada Matters for 2021. Maybe you could do a remix for us. We desperately need one. Okay, so topics for this evening. First of all, well, I'm in the UK. You're in Canada, Hudson, and Mr. Charles, where are you from at this minute in time?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta.
So we have the great three: UK, Canada, and America, all in the house. Not bad, eh?
Yes.
Yes. So we should have a fourth one today, Grenadian in the house, but unfortunately he couldn't make it at the time. So we move on. Topics of discussion. First thing I've heard, I'm hoping this is not true. We've had our first death regarding COVID in Grenada. Dennis?
Yes, I heard it this morning, and I had a long conversation after meditating on the implications and repercussions. What it would do to the psyche, you know, the thinking of the people. They're already scared from this SANDALS fiasco. No, so to add that new consequence in the midst of all that uncertainty, I don't know what is going to happen. There is a very antagonistic relationship with the police going on in Guave. I think they maybe pelted the police and they don't want them in there. They blocked roads and all of that. We have issues with GRENLEC. We have issues with Livera, you know, and I don't want to talk about Corinth and Fort Judy and all of that. It's so much going on at the same time, and now to bring a COVID death, that is just a lot right now to handle.
Before I say anything, Hudson, do you want to add to that?
Well, I read about the death. The news said is Grenadian national returnee who lived in England from the village Butchgrove. But what I find in Grenada with the COVID issue, this is the first death, but it seems that I'm not in Grenada, but what I understand is that most people who go home, who went to Grenada during the COVID time, when you talk to them, they think that nationals are treated different from tourists, like visitors and so. And this is what caused some people are pointing fingers at the government and SANDALS for the spike in the pandemic, but SANDALS kind of saying it's not them, and the government is trying to deny, and SANDALS is blaming the employee.
Well, we just have to look at the government's recent history, and I'm not pointing fingers, but was it not a situation of two Americans that came into the country, two doctors, in fact, came into the country? They came on a visit. They were doing something to open a hospital or something along those lines. They were told that they first were told that they didn't have COVID, and then they were later told by the Ministry of Health that they did have COVID. And then the judge said he wanted to make an example of people that break protocol. So the ministry basically wasn't taking responsibility for their actions and being accountable, but instead putting the blame back on the tourists. So this sort of almost incompetence mixed with arrogance seems to be a common thread within stories that are coming out. People, like I heard another story that the planes were no longer meant to be landing in Grenada, but yet I heard another story that a plane did land in Grenada the same day. So yeah. What is going on? I mean, what is going on? Mixed signals.
That is the case. That is the case. And you see what happens, the country being cash strapped. And of course, the government and SANDALS, they are joined at the hip, you know, financially and for whatever political reasons. They cut corners.
Well, you say cash strapped. Like you say cash strapped. However, GRENLEC was bought. I don't want to go down this road, but it was bought from a cash-strapped country, island, that was been given lots of money because of COVID. Okay? But suddenly, they haven't got the money for the country, but they've got money to buy GRENLEC. However, I understand, I don't know how true this is, but there's been some Chinese influence. But I don't know how true that is. Just whispers that potentially it was the Chinese that have fronted the money and the government are just packaging it as them. Now, I could be wrong. Dennis? Or Hudson, whichever. I don't know. I don't know. But I don't know.
Well, the question that most Grenadians are asking is that the government is owing some public workers money.
Oh.
Right? What happened? The PRG had destroyed the public service pension plan. They create NIS, which is NIS is what I call in Canada CPP, Canada Pension Plan.
Okay.
But if you work for the government of Canada like a public worker,
right,
you work with the government, whether it's provincial or federal, you're going to get a retirement pay. So that's the next pay, right? Mm-hmm. So historically, with the British, public workers, or we say civil servants, when they retire, they get a sovereigns and a pension plan, a pension till death. But the PRG wanted to get rid of the middle class. because the PRG wanted to set up a sort of socialist state. And they saw the middle class as the petty bourgeois. So they destroyed. And then when the revolution fell, they destroyed, I think was in either March or April 1980, 83 they did it. Just months before they commit their own demise. So when the Americans invade Grenada and they restore democracy, the governments that took power in the post-PRG era, they never restored the public service pension plan. And now the government had lost the case that the public workers have to get a pension. And if you can't give them the pension, where do you get in money to buy over
GRENLEC?
Where they getting over money to buy over GRENLEC? That's what the the people are asking. You don't have money to pay public workers and other people who won case against the government, but you have money to buy GRENLEC. DENIS could go further with it.
Well, what I could...
Before I go on, I'm just getting some people. I'm getting my sister's just contacted me and has made this statement. The great Nicholas Steele has addressing the Grenada at 5 p.m. today. So I thought people would like to know that the great Nicholas Steele will be addressing the Grenada at 5 p.m. today. Okay, please continue, please, DENIS. Sorry for my interruption there.
5 p.m. Grenada time or 5 p.m. Oh, it'll be Grenada time. So
5 p.m. Grenada time. Yes, Grenada time.
Okay. So it'll be okay. Right. So I to tell you the truth, the matter is of grave consequence. As a small country, we have absolutely no economy. They never built up any infrastructure, as such. We inherited the St. George Medical School, or if you want to call it the School of Medicine, from Sir Eric Matthew Gary many, many years ago. And with that, we have goodwill. We have a lot of tourism. The South St. George area is viable economically. You have the hotels, you have guest houses, restaurants and bars and all of that, like SANDALS, etc. They benefit quite a lot from the students and the students' friends and families who come to Grenada and live in that area there. So that's good. That's good. The other part of the country, the northern part of the country, there is absolutely nothing. We have no industries as far as increasing export. We are not self-sufficient. We cannot feed ourselves. We have to depend on St. Vincent for food, I mean, it's from bad to worse. So we become a dependent state. 35% of Grenada's GDP comes from the School of Medicine, right? That's a lot. And also the remittances in terms of Western Union, MoneyGram, and let's say barrels of foodstuff and clothing from folks in the diaspora, if you factor that too, that makes up more than 70% of Grenada's GDP. So the little cocoa and nutmeg, or let's say spice and so forth, I mean, when you look at it, unemployment in Grenada is upwards of 60%. If you were to add underemployment, it's probably about 80. We are in dire straits. So the government has not increased the productive capacity of the island. They don't institute anything of value except propaganda and politicking. It's all about winning the next election. It is all about campaigning, getting 15 seats. So we have what is called a woodman economy. You give a bottle of Rivers or Woodman and the young kids to drink, $50, cook some dumpling, and that's it. You vote NNP. So around Christmas time, of course, debushing. You get 2 weeks debushing around the roadside, you sweep and you clean some drains. That's the Grenadian economy. This is not sustainable. You don't build factories. You don't invest in infrastructure or anything like that. It's just politics. Win the next election. So they are dependent on you. And because they are dependent on you, the politicians could go around with a bag of money and give out $25 here, $50 there, a bottle of Woodman here, a bottle of Clark's Coat. That is it. We have the highest rate of alcoholism in the region. And in terms of the world, I think Grenada ranks in the top 5 as a small country in terms of alcohol consumption. Even the young girls drinking more than men. And they drink high proof too, without water. We need a change badly. So going back to COVID and the government's response, where did they get the money from? I don't think we would ever know, because they couldn't pay the nurses. They did not negotiate with the teachers in good faith. You understand? There is no money, okay? And all of a sudden, you find $200 million?
Well, in 2019, Grenada GDP, 85% of the GDP was 25% come from St. George's University, 20% from tourism, that's 45, and 40% from construction. Then 2019.
Okay, that's what they say.
8% from agriculture. Now, that shows that the economy in Grenada in 2019, out of that 85% GDP, I will say 85% of that 85% GDP come from the south of the island. And they had only 8% from agriculture. So it shows that the government don't invest nothing in the rural part of the country. And another point again is that the members of parliament with the most powerful jobs are all from the town of St. George. The prime minister is from St. George Parish. The minister of agriculture now, who never grew up in agriculture, he's from St. George. The minister of energy and finance is from the St. George area. The minister of health is from St. George. So these men have no idea about how we live, how people live beyond the borders of St. George Parish. And this is why we're having that problem with the GDP in 2019, because these men only focus on developing the south of the island. Whilst they have the supporters in the north and central and west and east who perhaps getting little special privilege and selfishly not looking at the entire country.
On that point, you're talking about opportunities and development. Is it a case of people, the government not wanting to create opportunities, or is it a case of situations where other people may want to be innovative and being blocked from being innovative?
I would say that's a very good observation.
Do you want to elaborate on that, Denis?
I believe that, yes, the vast majority of the people would like to see growth. They would like to see development. They would like to climb the socio-economic ladder. Everybody wants to make a better living for himself or herself. All right. And given the opportunity, they would work toward that end. But if the government has corrupted the process where you get a handout instead of a hand up, so you don't need to go out and work. The politicians want your vote. So they would come and keep dropping money for you, you know, to buy food, get a bottle to drink and all of that, instead of encouraging you to form, let's say, cooperatives in the north of the country where we have the best agricultural land, right? And you could cultivate short crops, which you would turn and sell to the hotels in the south, or maybe take it to the marketing board, you know, invest in an agro processing plant, right? So we could squeeze and blend juices, box them up, you know, and use locally the excess we could export. We could process some of our herbs, right? And I know they have an effort right now trying to do soursop leaves for tea and all of that stuff. Fine, that could have been done decades ago. So if they had a mindset to develop, you know, Grenada would have been in a different place right now. But it's obvious it's all about let us win the next election. So they would hold money as much as they could, as long as they could, just before election, and then boom, the whole of Grenada is booming, which is their word, not my word. The whole country is booming. Everybody get job. Everybody's getting free money. 2 bags of cement, 5 pieces of plywood, okay? Fix your house. We're giving you paint too, building materials, all of that. And after election is over, everybody go back broke again. This is a joke.
But it's allowed. It's allowed. It's a system where almost like they go around and do this. It's accepted. And in another 5 or 6 years, they go around and do it. It's a cycle over and over and over again. But the mentality of the people, but the mentality is, it works for me. I get a job, I get a handout, I get a this, I get a that. And it's the now mentality, this minute in time, rather than thinking for the future. Once people start thinking for the future, rather than thinking for just right here today, then they can see these plans and see what these people are doing and say, hey, hold up a second. You're not going to get me this time. You're not going to catch me this time because I'm forward thinking, I'm progressive. But it's progressive. Go ahead.
What I think happened is that the elected members of parliament in the outer parishes, they are weak. It's either they're not presenting ideas that suit the environment where they live, or as the strong hand men around the prime minister, they are, as I said, the urban base, they focus on developing the south of the island. For instance, if you're an artist, a visual artist, you're going to draw what you visualize. So you're going to draw buildings that you know, you grew up in that environment. But artists who have a other vision go look the other way. So it's same like politics. You come to me, I live in St. Patrick's Northwest. I'm St. Patrick's West constituent. My member of parliament is supposed to present something to the government. DENIS, in DENIS area, where you in? St. Andrews Northeast or something?
Yes.
I think so. Your MP is supposed to present something to your government. But it seems like these MPs are toothless. For instance, one female MP lives close to the old airport. She lives in a place called Simon. We say Simon Coco because of the Simon racetrack. But the place is called Simon. And then you have the Simon Bridge that go to the airport. It was almost unusable, and and it's when vehicle owners start complaining. The woman is living about less than a mile or a mile from that bridge. And motorists have to say the bridge is not good for driving for them to fix it. For example, a building burned in town the other day, 2 weeks ago or last week. They said the building belongs to the St. Joseph Convent. And they give the history why that building was built. So they suspect that vagrants in England, I don't know how you call them. We say in Canada, we say bums. Like street people slip in the building and they catch it afire. That's what they think. Now you come to Grenville. There is a very large church called the Old Church. You meet a lot of Grenadians in England, they tell you they went to Old Church School. Huge building. It's an old church. I don't know when it was built, if it was in slavery or after slavery. I don't know. I can't tell the date. This building is dangerous. If that fall one day, it could kill hundreds of people right on the ground. Now this Catholic building in town don't even reach quarter the size of the old church in Grenville. So fire destroyed. A couple days ago, they sent a demolition crew to crush it down to the ground because it's the city's safety. But Grenville is a town too. The old church is there, nobody wouldn't break it. But the government wouldn't say in parliament it is a danger to the people of St. Andrew. So it's like people in St. George, I don't know if they are first-class Grenadians, and we are second-class Grenadians. Then there was a rise in the outbreak, you know, in Grenada, mongoose carry rabies sometimes in the year. And there is high-risk area. When I was a schoolboy, they tell us, Dunfermline is a place that's a rabies, Boucherjou, and down in the south of the island, woodlands area. They say rabies might be a little more common there. So they define a little thing in rabies, I think it was a year or so or two. Now, the first place, they give every animal rabies injection was in the south of the island. We have less agriculture, less livestock, but they make sure they look after themselves first. And as long as Grenadians does not understand that, we're going to be in trouble. Now, when Gary was in power and Gary get out of hand, he was beating everybody. Once you oppose, you don't care if you're from the north, the south, the east, the west. Once you oppose, you get blows. When Maurice Bishop came to power, he said he was socialist. But those guys were tribal. And then now that tribalism has seen it showing up in the NNP government again. Similar type of tribalism.
I want us to touch on Mr. Nicholas Steele's press conference that he's going to be announcing to the nation again. Dennis, what have you made of Nicholas Steele's announcements and outcomes so far?
Yes, well, I feel terribly bad for him. He is put in a position where he has no power. He's been told what to say and when to say it. In other words, he's just a barking dog when the master say, you go out and, you know what I'm saying? Go out and do something. And he has to do it very humble and very polite. And so he takes his marching orders, you know, he does what he has to do, but he has no teeth. You know, you would tell me as a health minister, after SANDALS brought in their guests because they want to make a buck, violating protocols set by government, and you are the health minister, you still want to turn around and give SANDALS an award after their people going to walk through the airport. You know what I'm saying? Walk through the airport is that you escort them. But fellow Grenadians have to go with certificate. They have to show them, you know what I'm saying? They put you through the hoops. It's almost like SANDALS people were escorted and fast-tracked. And when they get up to the hotel, I mean, if you haven't been there, it's a nice place, beautiful place. You can't even set foot inside. My brother, well, he was being in the customs. He retired now, and he was trying to take me to see SANDALS. And about 5 security guards just closed the gate. Even if they know him, Mr. Charles, we know, but you can't come in. You cannot, as a Grenadian, set foot. And by law, we should have access to that white sand where SANDALS, you don't have the guests. That's part of Grenada too. But we don't, and we can't. It's gated off.
Segregated.
Yeah. And the view, that's for themselves, exclusive. So we, in our own country, have no rights there. It's a very lovely, very beautiful place, I would admit. But what I'm saying is, they in the hotel now, they don't wear the mask. The guests, not the guests, the people who work there, took the corona to their houses, to their families. They got sick. You cannot carve exceptions to whichever company. Let everybody abide by the rule. So before it got to ugly or very ugly, the government went and bowed in front of SANDALS. You're going to give these people an award? That minister should be fired. If I were to get into politics, they're gone. You don't do that. And after that, SANDALS took the, look, it is a crazy story, but what happened now? Campaign contributions. You look, you know, to where you're getting a little money when you need to run for politics, you know what I'm saying? And you kind of like, scratch my back, I scratch yours. This is how it is.
Well, basically, SANDALS, they invest in Grenada, but they also an interest group. They're more than an investor. They have, as you said, election campaign, they might dish a couple dollars. And also, I never been to SANDALS, but I understand how that hotel is built. Even though Grenadians have access to the beach, but this is the beach where is the hardest one to get through. You have to able to get through the beach from walking up the coast a long way to get to that beach, because it's a kind of enclave.
It's almost impossible to get there.
Possible.
And they have the security people planted at the top. So if you leave Point Saline and you keep going to the end where Grenada finish, no more Grenada, the end of the runway, right? This place it is so beautiful. I spent an hour just sitting in my car, just the view and the breeze and the birds. I mean, they pick a real nice spot. So that's why they could charge the kind of monies for the guests to come and entertain and you know, wine and dine over there. But they don't want us nowhere near that surrounding. And they get the fence out from the top. You're not going in. If you want to take a boat and come, you know what I'm saying, probably, but they're going to kick you out anyway at the bottom because they have security everywhere. That's it.
In addition to that, there is a possibility. I'm not saying it did happen, right? All these rich, wealthy people with all these yachts at night could be coming in to this hotel there and nobody knows too. Yeah, a possibility. I'm not saying it did happen, but based on the location and the terrain and the sea coast and all them things, it's easy.
Gentlemen, what about all these breaches that are happening across the island? A breach here, a breach there, and this person leaving the island without permission. This plane's landing when it should be landing. What about all these breaches? It seems complete. It almost seems as if it's like, let this chaos happen. Let it happen. Let it be. So when the chaos happens, then there's more excuses to say, well, you know, we're gonna have to lock the country down. We're gonna have to put you on the curfew. So if you let things be in complete chaos, then people look for the government to make an answer. Problem, reaction, solution. You cause the problem, You wait for the people to react, and then you provide a solution. But you're the one that caused the problem in the first place. That's what it seems to be,
Well,
gentlemen.
That is correct, but there is another concern, right?
Okay.
It is speculated, it is rumored that COVID could be a means to an end, right?
Of
The
course.
government is collecting monies for the pandemic or because of the pandemic in the millions of dollars. So COVID could be a good excuse to get cash. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Oh yeah.
we have to remember that point. So it is in their interest, since they have no money, they broke, right? Remember that.
For more people, for more people to get COVID.
Yes, for more people to get COVID, so they
And
could come around to
the higher the
international.
statistics. Oh, we've had a death. We've
The
had
more
a
money
death.
they get. Yeah.
Let's mark it off. Death. Ding! Money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yes, it's true.
Death makes money.
That
It is
makes
true.
money.
COVID is bonus.
Yep.
You know,
It is.
in the business, you know, in the business set, you go like, we're going to go for commission, and here's your bonus. COVID is the bonus. If you're dead, you're dead. We're sorry.
No,
But if you die of COVID, yeah, brilliant.
It is true. I think it's once you reach over 20 something,
Yeah.
I can't tell you the direct amount. Anything over 20, you get money. Cases plus the government get $25 million
Yeah.
about 3.5 weeks ago. Out of that $25 million, $2 million should have gone for, let us say, any of us here going to Grenada for a funeral. Emergency. Instead of the money coming out of our pocket to pay for quarantine, out of that $25 million, the government could have put $3 million aside for returnees who have emergencies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You cover them. You have an emergency, you go to Grenada, they're going to quarantine you, and you got to take your own cash to pay for your quarantine. The government could have put $3 million out of that 25 to help returnees who have emergencies.
This is a concern, and I mean, as you expressed, I agree with you. But you look toward other treatments too. Let's say you need a ventilator because of the COVID, you get infected. Now we have possibly more than one mutations. I don't know how many, but I think there is one mutation already. We may see more mutations down the road, right? How many ventilators do we have in Grenada? I heard the only ventilator in Grenada belongs to the Prime Minister of Grenada. That was bought in New York and shipped down by his people from reliable sources who contacted me and said, what about Grenada is an interesting place. What about the population? Look, we don't even have enough band-aids in the hospital, right? I'll tell you another story. And, you know, so I'm very happy to be on your show, but 1 hour is not enough for me and Hudson.
No. We will be back again. We're gonna shut down in an hour. We're gonna be back.
We need a long time to talk because we got stuff to talk about, right?
I think it's too.
I'll tell you, Hudson, let me just say right now that there are people coming in from Asia with money, and they were landing when the airport is closed, and they're gone about it. I'm not to call names. You know what I'm talking about, right? I got a call this week. Somebody tell me, you know what? Do you know the Welcome Stone? Like they're trying to shut it down. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, the Welcome Stone. Yes, Monk Peter. They want to put like a fence, like a, you know, you build like you're gonna gate it off. I said, who told you so? She said, yes. This is going to become part of the Deliverer project.
Oh.
So they heard they're going to put, like when you go to the the car, the lift, the cable ride.
Oh, like in Venezuela.
So you have this up in the air, this panoramic view thing, and you could go up there, and then it could take you down to
cable car.
Right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you go down to Liverpool Beach, then you could, go back. You take probably the best site in Grenada.
The best.
You see all the way toward Barbados. I mean, this thing is just breathtaking. I mean, it's beautiful. When I go there, I spend hours. I don't want to leave at all, right? But it's historic. And also, you could tie that into Bathway, which has the same kind of... So that means now we're going to lose the two most important areas as far as socializing in our own Grenadian way. We had an incident where we like to play a little music, make some noise, cook some food on the beach. You know what I'm saying? We take a drink, cook some food, and we play music, right? You're going to tell me some foreign people come in there and call the police to shut down Grenadians enjoying their little stay on the beach, playing the Grenadian music in their own Grenadian way?
We talked about in another show, segregation. They want to segregate and have a private beach just for tourists.
Well, maybe that's what they had to do.
What makes it worse? What makes it worse is the people that want to segregate are the tourists are people that don't like people of color. They come from places. They come from places that don't like people of color. This is the thing that gets me mad.
Yes.
The segregation, all right, you want to be elitist. Okay, fine. But when you talk about people coming from countries that don't recognize, that don't accept us in their own country, then we could go to their country and do this nonsense. But they can come to our country, our island, do it. That is pure slackness. Not pure Grenada, pure slackness. That's what that is.
This is crazy. And because of the bind Grenada finds itself in economically, right? We did not diversify our economy at all, right? We still have 2 of the 3 traditional crops, cocoa and nutmeg. Forget that, banana is gone. They haven't invested not a black cent, I mean, the government is just pocketing money, increasing the salaries, you know what I'm saying? And getting contracts, getting money from the World Bank and the IMF, squandering it. They use that money for election time to get re-elected again, to go back and do the same thing again. You take case in point, Bowen.
We'll come to Bowen and GRENLEC in a minute.
Yeah.
I heard a story, and I hope this story isn't true, that the island of Grenada is up for sale. Now, I hope, I pray that isn't true, because if it's true, because in that case, then if the island is bought, then it makes sense as to what's going on the island.
I'll tell you this much. I would not talk about the Mount Hartman and all of that. We don't have time right now, but I would remind you to go back to Calivini, the sale of Calivini, where a certain wealthy person was able to buy that island and build all of that. We cannot go there because they got security guards. They're kicking you out. You're not landing there at all. In fact, there were some fishermen from the southern part of St. David's, etc. They catch their little lamby and lobster, they hold some fish, all of that. This guy was shooting bullets over the head.
I heard that story as well.
So when you hear Bo, you're scared with your bow, and nobody going and set foot on his white sand, the place is beautiful. I look at it, some of the rooms go for 145,000 US a night. US a night, 145,000. right?
This is setting up apartheid. I'm telling you, on the island. We spoke about this on a previous show. This is setting up apartheid on the island.
It is apartheid.
It is apartheid, economic and racial apartheid.
Yeah, it is apartheid. So a small country like that, you're selling the yacht service Port Louis for $1. One of the most expensive piece of real estate and beautiful areas in Grenada.
Well,
a couple of years ago, you had Bill Gates, 3 of the world's biggest billionaires, all of them. You're gonna sell that for $1? Who is fooling who? Who pocket that money? Whose bank account in the Cayman Islands or I don't know, someplace? Somebody has that money in some offshore account. $1? Grenada need help, my brother. I wish you could do anything in your powers to help. I'll be on your show back anytime, and we need more than an hour.
Yeah, well, you can be a you can come one every week, brother. This is ridiculous. Now, is Grenada finished?
No.
You say no.
No,
Under this current regime and leadership, does Grenada even exist? The whole idea of Grenada exist? Because once the idea of Grenada is finished. The idea of what a Grenada is meant to be is finished, because you now got foreign entities coming in and buying up land and putting property down and excluding Grenadians.
Yes. And I'll tell you, Hudson, before you go, I'll say one thing before I forget, just to piggyback on what he had said, right? I visited Grenada with my family, and I wanted to show them how beautiful. I said God took his hands and slowly and quietly made Lasages. I went to Lasages early in the morning, and I saw the sun rising. If you guys haven't seen that, and you folks out there listening to me, go to Lasages Beach. Well, if the Chinese allow you to get there, go to Lasages. But on a serious note, go to Lasages Beach early while it's dark. Go there early in the morning and wait for the sun to come up. The water is like a piece of glass, right? Calm, no wave, calm. The tide is all the way back. And wait for the glow of that sun, that golden rays, as it rises up and reflects on the. If that is not heaven, well, that is heaven, brother.
What about Hope Beach?
That is heaven. That is heaven, brother.
What about Hope Beach?
Well, Hope is nice too, but Hope is no comparison to Lasages. Lasages, and then the birds. You know, there's a nature. It's a sanctuary thing, right? Yeah. Sanctuary with all the birds and all of that. And when my son went there, even if a lot of fish, you see them with your eye while we bathing. The place is filled with fish. You know what I'm saying? And almond trees, the almond smells so nice. Just, I couldn't believe how pretty and how beautiful. So what was happening now? Next to the street, on the other side of the playing field, the Chinese were building quietly. Nobody know what they're building. Building, going up. The building expanded. When I went on last year, God knows, no name, but the Chinese building, they're constructing something there. Guess what? They get it. They destroy the whole natural habitat. Grenada dove is I think it's on the endangered species list, I believe. I mean, we have a salt pond, natural. They destroyed that too. Then the heavy rain came and eroded. They just bulldozed the whole place down because they want to put a 5-star hotel. And then you're gonna come like Sandals. They're gonna get security guard. We're not going there.
I will add to this. Now, when I've heard it said many a time that even my good friend, I won't mention his name, but he's a very prominent figure in Grenada, said to me, well, I have my business. He says, but I must keep my business looking mediocre. He says, why? Because if I start to excel in my business and people see it, people get jealous and people start thinking I'm a big shot. So I have to keep myself level, you know, like everybody else. But if an Arab man decides to come in, that's accepted. If a foreigner comes in that doesn't look like a fellow Grenadian, that's acceptable. What is going on in Grenada now is, for me, it seems the result of people that look like us trying to invest in Grenada and being pushed out, and the people of the island of Grenada resenting people coming back who look like us and fellow Grenadians coming back to try and do things and say our foreigners always think they're better than us. Well, no, the real foreigners are coming into the island now and taking from the island and benefiting from the island and kicking the Grenadians out. And we're not physically kicking them off the island, but they're kicking them off the island in terms of location, in terms of ability to do this. It's going to impact their lifestyle more and more and more. On the beach, you can't go to the beach because it's segregated now. So the things you used to do on a Sunday and Saturday with your family, you won't be able to do it the same way. These people are there. And of course, these people are going to be walking around Grenada as well. This is not good. Unless leadership changes and there's a radical leader, and it's going to need a radical leader to change what's happening in Grenada. It's not good. This is because what's happening is they're just planting the seeds at the moment. Imagine that when they've all come together, they've all put their businesses together, and they've all got their land, all bought up all the land in Grenada. What's going to happen? What will that look like?
The government gave them citizenship and
what happens?
diplomatic immunity too. So it's not only they get a Grenada passport, they get diplomatic. Let me tell you something. There are tons of, I don't want to say which country they come from, in Asia. When they bring in the containers of clothing and other items, you don't mess with that in customs. They walk in and they walk out. Because
I could do that.
The government ministers in the house whining and dining. But you send a barrel of me, let me go down with a little something. Man,
Yes.
they inside of it, pouring out all. They want to know the tag. They will go. US to pay, and they add in. So the container or the barrel you send down, when they hit your duty, sometimes you leave it and walk away, you can't pay.
You see that? See all that nonsense? You see all that nonsense right there? That is the reason why you've got what is going on the island. Yeah. And the Grenadians are going to pay for that. That kind of stuff where they are resentful to people that want to come back on the island and help, that look like them, that actually have a good heart. Okay. They think I'm talking now. This is what's happening. But it's when, you know, when it starts to affect their lifestyle and it starts to pinch them in the ass, that is when they'll get a light bulb may start to go off in their head. But by then it'll be too late. I don't even think it's too late now, because these people is running rampant on the island. The only thing that's missing on the island now is to basically have signs in English and in signposts in another language. That's all that's missing.
Yeah, you don't have to say the language, because I mean we know where the money coming from. I mean, we know who got the money.
The great test is, let's see if we can get these same Grenadians to go to their country and do the same stuff that we do.
No, you don't. A government minister who loves to play short knee from the area of Victoria, St. Mark's, said, well, you know who is really feeding us? She had to remind us Grenadians, you know, we should be thankful because of these folks are the ones, I'm not naming names because they probably buy Grenada. Look, it is so bad. It is so bad. I don't know how much worse. I don't think there is more worse. It reached here. It cannot go down below that.
No, it can go beyond that. It's to replace the Prime Minister with somebody who doesn't look like us. That's the final point. That's it.
That's it.
With a foreign last name. That would be it.
That is the only way, Hudson.
But from what I understand, but from what I hear, that's already the case. That's what I hear. It's already the case. Inadvertently.
The theft, cronyism, I mean, you name it. You talk about a swamp, right? That is the biggest swamp with like a cesspit of corruption and all of that, where you're going to be investigated by a commission, and the commission would suggest that you go get the police and turn the matter into a criminal investigation against certain people. And those folks now turn around. They're still in government. One now is made Minister of Finance for what he did to GRENLEC. The monies, I'm talking about a lot of millions of dollars, and the hardship he put on Grenadians with the rolling blackout and all of that, they cannot account for because they don't keep records. So if they tell you, they think we spend XYZ for that, XYZ for this, they don't keep no notes, no records. So you don't have receipt. Oh, well, this costs $50,000, this costs $375,000, this costs whatever money. Some of the equipment they bought was in pounds, British pounds, right? Which was trading higher in the past, right? Grenadians lost, and they even invested in real estate too.
Well, basically, what this guy is doing, the government is going after our traditional way of susu. But the hierarchy of the Grenada government themselves, they change portfolios like susu, for instance. Okay. Minister Steele used to be, I think, Minister of Tourism once. I think so. Now he's Minister of Health. Miss Modest changed her portfolio too. Peter David changed his.
The swamp.
The Bowen changed his. The Prime Minister changed his, as he added youth with it. So, okay, so inside is like a susu. But our traditional way of banking, which is, if you go on the internet and you search the history of susu, we using the proper word. If you go to Nigeria, Ghana, they say susu. And it is said susu is the oldest form of banking in the world before you have modern institutional bank. They're giving susu in Grenada hard time saying people could embezzle drug money in it. Why is they themselves running the government like a susu? You say, okay, this is my hand now. I'm going to handle the finance. This is my hand. I'm going in tourism. This is my hand. I'm in health. That's what they're doing to us.
You give a minister a portfolio to handle agriculture, right? And he never planted a grain of corn. He doesn't know how to shell peas. I mean, we have folks in Grenada who know about agriculture.
And they bring them in board.
Yeah, we have people who have degree. Look, but they don't want that. They don't want that. You put a man to become agriculture minister. That guy never planted potato in his life, right? And I mean, it's just not a clue.
If you show this guy what is a red banana, what we call a mataburo, he doesn't know.
Not a clue.
In my village, have a guy with a master's degree in agriculture. A guy named Ken Joseph.
Yeah, Hermitage.
I'm from Hermitage. Yeah. He studied in Cuba. He is unemployed. He have to make his own thing and sell. And they tell you they care about
gentlemen, I just want you to address this question, this point here. I'm a Grenadian living in the UK, and it's disgusting that my children cannot get a citizenship, yet Chinese people gets it.
They have to pay X amount of dollars, and it's been, if you know the project, which is called the Shrimp Farm Project, where upwards of $52 million. I mean, it's a lot of corruption, and they try to hide what they're doing and not tell us how many passports were sold, which bank account, the passports money, and which minister or prime minister is in charge or can draw or overdraft or draft that account. They would not tell you, right? So a certain amount of money is for regular passport. But if you want diplomatic immunity and all of that with it too, you can get. I can refer you to a gentleman by the name of Eric Reichsteiner, right? He was one of the guys that was embezzling and swindling US citizens of the pension and retirement money, right? And he came to Grenada with all this big scam and scheme and all of that stuff. I think he did about 80-something months in jail. He was caught. But guess who he was in partnership with? The prime minister, right? That payback to the prime minister, that payback, and Tillman Thomas could have, the people who has, who have the video, they wanted a lot of money for it to prosecute, right? But on 2 occasions, $500,000 were paid out. And the prime minister turned around and says, my damn money. What I do with it
is my damn money. It's what I do with my damn money. It's my damn money. I do what I want with it.
Money. What I do with my damn money. but yeah, I'm not done yet.
Briefcase gate.
The briefcase, yeah. He had to plead diplomatic immunity as head of state. So if I were to refer to President Trump, now he's in office, so you cannot really indict a sitting political figure like that. But after the fact, maybe in New York, state law could go after him. So the current prime minister now pleaded that, but Mr. Eric Reichsteiner, he had his day in court and in jail for the same exact thing. So the prime minister of Grenada was a co-defendant along with his wife to that charge.
Wow.
But the American,
Very quickly, can we touch on GRENLEC before to close everything up? Do you want to start with that, Dennis? GRENLEC, Hudson? We're going to close with GRENLEC.
Well, I think that based on my experience as a Grenadian, before this WRLB or WRB or whatever is the name of the company took over GRENLEC, the electricity company used to have a lot of blackouts. It wasn't efficient. There was always blackouts and blackouts and blackouts. So this company gave Grenada one of the best electricity service perhaps in the region. There was no blackouts. The service is good. But it is rumored that the prime minister had accused that government, that company, of being friendly to the opposition.
Oh no.
And he's a sort of vindictive, because the company, one of the big people in the company said, no, they were not politically involved in anything. But again, if you do political science, and we're living in a democracy, whether the WRB or whatever is the name was friendly to the opposition party, this is democracy. In North America, different political parties get money from business people to run campaigns. One of the richest man in Quebec, one of our former Prime Minister, Jacques Retter, married to this man's daughter. I can't pronounce the name properly in French. He's one of the richest Frenchmen. I'm Canadian. When it's election time, he gives both political party money for campaign. So if the Prime Minister is punishing a foreign company for being friendly to our opposition party, this is dictatorship. This is a violation of democracy. And secondly, plane landing in the night secretly in Grenada, that culture come from the PRG. In the days of the PRG, these things used to happen. If you run in a democratic society, you're not supposed to have midnight landing in secrecy. This is not democracy. And there are people in the present NNP government who were once close to the PRG, and I guess they brought that culture of secrecy into the regime. And
I would venture to say, in the interest of time, I'm looking at it, not that I cut you off, Hudson.
Yes.
But the lack of transparency, the lack of accountability, it is sickening. It is not the way democracy should be run. And I believe it is time that Dr. Kit Mitchell pick up his cane or his walking stick and vacate the island. He has done enough damage to Grenada. Grenada has a lot of potential. We have a lot of gems. If developed right, I mean, we could flourish, we could do well, but they have no interest in the betterment of the country. They have an interest in the bank account. So
yeah, but
go ahead.
As you say that, whoever's going to come into power, the mindset has to be different, or we're going to get the same again.
Yes.
Or worse.
Yes. We have an education to do as far as changing the minds of the youth from this handout, begging handout thing to what can you do for yourself? You know, do you want to build? Do you want to invest your talent? Do you want to pull resources, form corporations, and marry idle hands with idle lands? Let us do something. And when we sell, we split the money, you know, joint venture and all of that. If the government were to, let's say, foster that kind of attitude, it would work. But it would lead to independence. They would not be dependent on the politicians and the handouts no more. So just keep giving them some woodman and $50 to cook brong down. So we have a brong down economy, right? The begging and brong down, and they vote for you, NNP, because I just give you $50, you know? I just give you a bottle of Rivers. This is a hard and difficult road ahead, to be honest with you, as far as changing minds, you know what I'm saying? It is a long, hard slog.
But if we start to put the seeds in place now, then our future will be much brighter.
I'm with you on that.
We've got to put the seeds down. Well, already. I'm born ready.
All right.
I'm born ready. All right. So let's open the debate. Let's start it going. Let's get it going. This is the foundation of Grenada Matters for 2021. Thank you, gentlemen, for Dennis and Hudson tonight. Appreciate you both. Thank you so much, and thank you all for watching Grenada Matters. I hope that you are encouraged with our first show of 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. All right, we'll be back again.